Hi resellers and thrifters, I'm Carrie and my channel here on YouTube is Be Carried Away. Thank you so much for joining me, and if you're new here, thank you for finding me. I am a sometimes part-time, sometimes full-time reseller, meaning that I go to thrift stores, primarily estate sales, garage sales, things like that, and search for items that are undervalued in order to sell them for a profit. So today I have the second part of my May, what sold video. So stay tuned to see what I sold in the second half of May. So this is part 2 of May 15th through the 30th. So really kind of the last week of May. Okay, we're gonna get started with a few more eBay sales. I did mostly eBay sales in the previous video. And this first item is really super cool. I got this at the Thrifty Shopper thrift store and I paid $6.99 for this. It is a 1950s era, I call it atomic white abstract. It was a jar with a lid, but it was this really cool abstract ceramic, quite large. The dimensions were probably about 18 inches tall. It was really quite big. And I sold that for $62.99. I actually had it priced a little bit higher than that originally, but I did drop that down. And as soon as I dropped it down, it sold almost instantly. So the buyer was all in for $86.98. Highly recommend looking for anything that's mid-century modern, atomic mod, abstract, that sort of art. It's very, very popular. Okay, next is this beautiful lamb's wool and Angora LL Bean sweater. Just love this sweater. This sold for $20.99 and it was a lavender color with this leaf pattern. I paid $1.99 for this at the Salvation Army thrift store and the buyer was all in for $28.12, paying shipping on top of the $20.99. Next was this kind of a very basic bread and butter sale, an Under Armour Cold Gear mock neck athletic shirt, and this is pink in a women's small. It sold for $16.09. That was a sale price basically, and free shipping. So I really was trying to get that out of my closet. Okay, next is a BOLO brand. Be on the lookout for this designer purse bag. So a beaded purse by the designer Mary Frances. You'll see the tags. I'm gonna put the tag up here. They're almost always tagged unless it's been ripped out, but she does some really exquisite, elaborate beaded purse designs. Some are more vintage than others. This one was pretty, it was plentiful, this particular design, for sale. So it didn't go for a lot, but I paid $1.99 for this and I sold it for $34.29. That was a sale price, which is why it's that odd number, with free shipping. So the buyer was in at $34.29. So on a $2 sale, that's a great sale, but Mary Frances can go very, very high, particularly with some of the more elaborate designs or the more rare designs. So if you see Mary Frances, almost always pick it up. Next was this canceled sale. This buyer gave me an offer of $49.99. I accepted, and they just never paid. So no contact, no nothing. So canceled sale, and that's back up in my closet. Next was this BCBG Max Azria wrap dress in a really pretty red kind of purple color. This is one of those brands that can be bread and butter. It can go high depending on what it is. A basic wrap dress like this, I am going to pick it up at the right price. It went for $20. The buyer was all in for $27.73 with shipping and tax. And it's a beautiful little, basic sale. Really pretty dress. Next is a great sale. This is vintage. This is what I love, vintage clothing, vintage items. This is by Parker, and it is a men's sweater. Look at the colors in this. It's pinks and blues and yellows, and it's 100% alpaca. So this is a very, very fine woven, beautiful, beautiful sweater, cardigan sweater. So it was designed for a man, but I listed this both under women's and men's. Really important to do that with these grandpa sweaters or grandma sweaters because they're so popular right now, and women love to wear the boyfriend sweaters, the grandpa sweaters, just as much as the guys do. So listed in both categories. The Parker of Vienna. So this was made in Vienna, 100% alpaca. This particular brand, I've seen other alpaca sweaters. I was able to comp it when I first bought it. The reason that I was so careful about comping this was this had several flaws. It had, the alpaca wool is very, very delicate, and it had about 8 really small, tiny holes. So I did repair those with thread. They came out great, but it was a lot of work. So I was costing out, you know, am I really going to, you know, get my money's worth out of the work that I put in to sew up those little small holes. So I had this originally listed at $179.99, and it sold for $125.99 with free shipping. So that's a fantastic sale. Okay, and the very last item that sold on eBay in May for me was this Hard Rock Hotel Las Vegas men's button-up Hawaii. I'm calling it a Hawaiian shirt because of the kind of design that was on it, but it really was a pin-up girl design. It had kind of a biker Harley Davidson look, maybe Ed Hardy kind of look. And I sold this for $25. I paid $3.99 for it, and the buyer did pay shipping and was all in for $33.17. This was an XXL. There were several of them listed, and I did come in at a lower price than some of the others and made a pretty quick sale. Okay, next are my sales on Poshmark for the second 2 weeks of May. The first were these Capezio split sole leather tap shoes. These were women's tap shoes in a size 9.5. Now Capezio is a fantastic brand, one of the top brands for any kind of dance shoes. These were brand new. These had been in my thrift store for about 4 weeks and nobody was buying them. They had them marked at $7.99 originally, but I waited and waited knowing that, you know, it's pretty, the chances of someone coming in needing those particular tap shoes in my thrift store were low, and so I waited it out and I got them for 99 cents. I had several pairs of them and they all sold. This was the last pair. I sold them for $25 on Poshmark, and that was a straight sale. Next was this really great, I wish this had gone for more, but I had had it for quite a long time, and probably the color, also I was selling it post-COVID. Well, it's not post-COVID yet, but it's post-lockdown, I should say, because during lockdown I was selling so many robes. It was crazy, but everybody was home. This is a house dress or a velour robe. It's new with tags, new old stock. So again, that's called dead stock or new old stock, NOS. And this was a maxi house dress. It was in kind of a velour color in this really funky retro orange. It was from Sears, and that sold straight out for $20. So there was no shipping discount on that. Next was this vintage Pendleton, beautiful color, I called it butter yellow, this wool blazer jacket. This was somewhat vintage, but probably like 80s maybe. It wasn't like really, really old. The color was just great. It was a size 14, which is also great, and the condition was amazing. So this sold for $30, and I did offer a shipping discount. It shipped for $5.95, so it was a very small shipping discount of $2 or so. Next was this Hollister Hawaiian shirt. I don't pick up a lot of Hollister necessarily, but Hawaiian shirts are always fun, and they sell at certain times of the year. They're great for parties and things like that. And this one was really cool. It had mermaids on it, so I thought it was really kind of special. I picked it up for $2.99 and I sold it for $20 with the buyer paid $5.95 in shipping, so there was a small shipping discount on that one. Next, I sold this new old stock, also never been washed. It didn't have tags, but it was very, very clear that this had been a collector's piece. It was a t-shirt that had never been washed. nor worn, but never washed even. It had been carefully kept. It was the Jacksonville Jaguars, and it was from 1995. It was actually dated, so it was single stitch, and it was dated, graphic t-shirt. So I sold that for $28, and the buyer paid full shipping on Poshmark. Next is this Travelsmith white button-down tunic. It was in a size 1X. Travelsmith is a great brand for exactly what it sounds like, travel clothes. They're things that don't wrinkle. They're things that are really easy to wash and dry on the road. And they're things that are very lightweight generally, as well as versatile. So you can wear it in a variety of different settings. And this was that kind of white button-down tunic. It could be dressed up. It could be worn as a beach cover-up even. You know, that's the kind of marketing mindset of Travelsmith. So certain pieces do really well. This one only went for $16, and the buyer paid full shipping on that. I'd had that around for a really long time. And so the next few sales are all things that sold pretty low on Poshmark, just basic bread and butter sales, but they were all things that had sat around, and I'm really happy to just, you know, make 10 bucks on each of them. The first was this Madewell chambray denim. I don't think I'm going to be picking up too much more Madewell, especially not the shirts. This was a beautiful chambray, but it was in a medium. It took like 6 months or more to sell. I paid $3.99 for that, and it sold for $19, and the buyer did pay full shipping. Next is this Crag Hoppers. This is really cool. This is one of those insect shirts that has the actual insect repellent built into the fabric of the shirt. And I was able to date this and to be sure that it still had some of the fabric in there, some of the insect repellent in there, because it was freshness dated basically. So this sold for $15, and the buyer paid full shipping. Next was just this really cute little women's t-shirt, a very feminine cut, and it was full sale brewery. Brewery items sell pretty well generally, and this was a new tag. So that's why I picked up something like that. Even though it only sold for $15, I paid 99 cents for that, and the buyer did pay full shipping. So my cut, you know, Poshmark takes their 20%. So they take their $3, I paid $1, so I'm getting an $11 profit on something that literally takes a second to drop into a padded mailer. Next is a Victoria's Secret olive green and teal lace push-up bra. I paid $2.99 for that at the Salvation Army, and I received $15 for it, and the buyer paid full shipping. Next, I'm really excited about starting to look at Chico's as a brand. I never used to pick up Chico's, and I've recently just started picking it up, and I've already sold 2 items. So there's a real market out there for certain pieces, boho pieces, kind of cool, funky. It appeals to a little bit older demographic, but a demographic of women that still wants to be kind of hip and cool. And so there's this like boho element. This was a denim jacket, and it had all kinds of fun embroidery on it. I sold that for $40. That was a size 16, and I paid $3.99 for that at my Salvation Army, so great sale. Next were probably the oldest thing in my entire closet, I have to say. These were by Franco Sardo. I do not pick up Franco Sardo anymore. Primarily because of these shoes. These wedges, these are a cork wedge, platform sandal, boho. They're a nice size, they're a fantastic condition. Franco Sardo should be a good brand, but you know, nothing too spectacular about them, but they did sell for $20. So $20, and the buyer paid full shipping. So I was really happy to say bye, Felicia, to those. Next was this 3-piece new tags. I picked this up at the Salvation Army as well. It was an infant boy white baptism suit, or could be used for a wedding, I suppose. And it was an infant. It was 6 to 9 months. I paid $3.99 for that at my Salvation Army, brand new with tags, never worn, and I received $36, and I did offer a small shipping discount. The buyer paid only $5.95 shipping instead of the $7.25 or $7. I think it might be a little more now that they pay. Next, really happy to see this sale because it was an item that was absolutely gorgeous but just did not photograph well. That can be an issue, particularly with black items. And I couldn't find, sometimes I'll try really hard to find a, if it's, you know, a newer item, a newer piece like this from Anthropologie, I'll try to find a stock photo. Couldn't find that anywhere. It had all kinds of detail that just didn't come out in the photos. So I was worried that I wasn't gonna make my money back because I paid up for that. I paid $9.99 for this at a different Salvation Army that I don't usually go to. And it was new with tags. It was L'Envie, which is an Anthropologie, sold at Anthropologie. It had this cool crinkle fabric. The sleeves were actually sheer. It had some really cool like tie back stuff in the back. All these fabulous accents that just really didn't show in the photo. So I was happy to get $40 for that. So the buyer paid full shipping and I received $40 for that. Next is a Buffalo Sabres long sleeve t-shirt. I purchased about 6 of these at my Salvation Army. They were 99 cents. They had been in the store for a long time. They had lots of them. They must have got them donated in. So I scooped up a bunch of them when they went to 99 cents and I got $18 for this and the buyer paid full shipping. Next, a vintage belt by the company called Arden, and I picked this up because it was vintage, but also it really had a very cool style. It was this basket weave to the leather, and it had these, it almost looked like conchos. They weren't quite conchos, but they were silver design elements on the belt. So I paid $1.99 for that belt at my Salvation Army and the buyer paid $18 and I did give a small shipping discount, so they paid $5.95 shipping. Next was a really cute vintage item. This was a 2-piece set, a vintage secretary dress, skirt, and blouse set, and the blouse had the pussy bow tie, which is a great keyword to use for that sort of tie neck that maybe from 70s and 80s. So I called it a vintage pussy bow, secretary dress, skirt, and blouse. And this I paid probably less than $1 for. I purchased this at a thrifty shopper that does pay by the pound. So it's not the bins, the clothing is actually out on the floor on racks, but it is a pay by the pound thrift store where the items haven't sold in the main thrift store, the other thrift stores, and it's funneled into this larger one where they'll do pay by the pound. So it was extremely lightweight, so I probably paid less than $1 for it. I think the pay by the pound price at that thrifty shopper was $1.39 or $1.29 a pound. And last was this Peter Nygaard pink blazer, and it was a silk blend, and I probably thought that would have gone for more because Peter Nygaard can go well depending on the piece, and this just had sat in my closet for a long time, and once spring passed, you know, I realized I'm gonna be waiting another season again, and I'd had it in my closet for quite a long time. So whenever I got a like on it, I was giving really low offers, and I did send out a $15 offer with $4.99 shipping. So the buyer was basically $20 all in on that jacket. So that's it for Poshmark. Now let's go over to Facebook and Mercari and see what's sold over there. Okay, so I had 2 sales on Mercari. Mercari is a new platform for me, and I really wasn't listing a lot in the end of May. So I only had 2 sales over there, which does not surprise me because I had a much lower activity level there at that time. So the first sale were these Converse Chuck Taylor All-Stars in women's low top, and they were a really pretty plum color. So those sold for $33 and the buyer did pay shipping on those. And next was a really cute, I loved this, hoodie, women's hoodie from Victoria's Secret pink, and it had the pink dog logo, but it was on the back and it had this really cool checkered pattern in like yellows and oranges with sequins. So that went for $28 and the buyer did pay shipping on that. So those were my 2 Mercari sales. Okay, so that's it for sales for the last 2 weeks of May. I didn't have any Facebook Marketplace sales during the last 2 weeks of May. I really wasn't very active on the platform during that time period. They've picked up some since then, so in June I will have some sales, but for the last 2 weeks of May I don't have any. And it's really reflective of the fact that I was not on the platform very much. So it absolutely makes a difference. You can have all kinds of things listed, but if you're not regularly listing, if you're not regularly on the platforms, those sales just are not going to come. So stay active on the platforms that you have your items on and keep listing and keep selling. Thanks so much and have a great night and happy thrifting, everybody.